A disease with an unknown cause spread worldwide, killing all humans over the age of 13 and leaving children vulnerable to vampires. 4 years later, Yuichiro, also known as Yu, is tired of his new life at his family's orphanage in Sanguinum, the vampire capital. Every kid there is treated like livestock to be fed on by the vampires. However, his best friend Mika disagrees, though, as he gives his blood to Farid Bathory, one of the vampire nobles, in exchange for good food and anything else he might want. That night, they ate the curry with the ingredients Mika got from the noble vampire. However, Yu starts to worry as Mika is missing. That night, Mika sneaks back into their house and gives Yu a map and a gun he took from Farid, and Mika says they should leave this world. Akane hears what they are doing and comes down the stairs to see what is happening. Mika pulls out the stolen map and tells to wake up everyone. The kids sneak their way through the vast underground city. When they can see the exit from the city, Farid steps out from beside the gate, confident that they have made it, and watches their shocked and confused faces. Farid says he really likes to give kids some hope and then crush them. Farid takes advantage of Yu and Mika being shocked and starts killing the other kids. Yu and Mika are the only ones alive. Mika takes back the gun and charges at Farid, who uses his hand to pierce Mika's chest. Mika points the gun at Farid's face, but Farid cuts Mika's arm off. Mika tells Yu to run, but Yu grabs the gun and shoots Farid's head as tears drop from his eyes. Yu then holds Mika in his arms and tries to drag him out of the city, but Mika pushes him away, telling him to run away and survive. As he runs through the snow at night with tears in his eyes, he sees a destroyed human city in front of him. He has a hard time, but Guren, Shiger, and Sayuri find him. Guren talks about the prophecy being real as they just found one of the Hyakuya laboratories test subjects who will help the world get rid of the vampires. Yu suddenly hugs Guren and swears to kill every last vampire. 4 years have passed since Yu's escape from Sanguinum. He's now 16 and still feels haunted by the image of losing his family. A horseman of the apocalypse suddenly breaks through a billboard to attack 2 companions, and Yu refuses to comply with their orders to retreat. Yu kills the monster as he only exists to exterminate every bloodsucker in this world. Yu is punished by being sent to school and suspended for defying orders. During class, he receives a poke from Shinoa, his assigned surveillance officer, who forces him to read the note she made. She reminds him that he must behave and will not be allowed to rejoin the army unless he cooperates and makes friends. At the lockers, Yoichi is being bullied. Yu decides to break up the fight. However, as per soldier regulations, he can't fight civilians and ends up joining Yoichi and getting food for the bullies. During their walk back, Yu learns about Yoichi's aspirations. Yoichi wants revenge for his sister's death caused by a vampire, and they somehow start a friendship. Later, a female vampire attacks the school, forcing it to close. Despite being told not to, Yu enters a classroom where he discovers the freed vampire. She appears skinny, underweight, and malnourished, and her eyes are sunken. She tries to drink the blood of a female student, but Yu steps in before she can bite. The vampire then decides to consume his blood in its place. They start fighting and the vampire overpowers Yu and tries to drink the girl's blood to get stronger. Luckily, Yoichi appears and tackles the girl from the side. Yoichi then becomes the target of her attack, but Yu blocks it with his sword. She grabs him by the throat and leaps out the window with him as Yu and the vampire continue to struggle. Yu then stabs her, but his blade has no effect. As she is about to suck him dry, Guren pierces her heart with his cursed blade and kills her. Yu has passed his friendship test, and Shinoa informs the 2 boys that both of them have been admitted into the Moon Demon Company because the army recognized Yoichi's willingness to put himself in harm's way for his friend. Shinoa decides to show Yu her cursed gear, Shikama Daoji, a gigantic scythe. Additionally, it has the ability to produce a spiritually based power. It astounds Yu, who requests Shinoa give it to him. She declines, and Yu decides to attack her to gauge the weapon's potency. She engages him in fast combat before fully outpacing him physically and energetically with the scythe. Some students ask Yu and Shinoa to help them track another student who got into the Forbidden Chamber to get a cursed weapon, a weapon with a sealed demon. Yu, Shinoa, and Yoichi enter the chamber. Shinoa cautions Yu against trying anything risky, but Yu rushes in and attempts to take a cursed axe from the student, who is now under the grip of a demon. When Yu realizes it, he is suddenly back in Sanguinum with Mika, Akane, and the other orphans as children. They ask Yu to join them for the rest of their dinner, but Yu is uncomfortable and bewildered. He states that he believed they had passed away, but Mika and the others responded by confirming their demise. He then asks Yu to exact revenge on them. Yu, who has realized that Mika would never desire that, and yells at the demon to stop acting like his family and reveal its true nature. The demon inside the weapon reveals himself and the illusion breaks. Yu discovers that the demon had tried to take possession of him. Shinoa was shocked to see that Yu was able to drive the demon away with his willpower alone. Shinoa states that she will let Gurren know that Yu has what it takes to manage a curse gear, and he might soon allow him to join the training group. Yu starts his first training as a member of the Moon Demon Squad alongside Yoichi and Shinoa. He runs across Shiho, the student with whom he earlier got into an altercation after he was transferred to a new class. We find out that Kimazuki wants to obtain a cursed weapon and the status that goes along with it. Kimazuki asks Gurren for the benefits and medical procedures his sister needs as soon as possible. He also requests that Gurren immediately grant him access to the cursed weapon to try and save his sister. Yu and Kimazuki are compelled to work together against training puppets during the examination. However, the training is cut short when Kimazuki learns that his sister is severely ill from the trainer Sayuri. Kimazuki requests to complete the tests, but Yu persuades him to visit his sister instead. Even though he failed the exam, Kimazuki appreciates Yu for persuading him to visit his sister after much denial. Yu accompanied him because they were still shackled together when Kimazuki decided to visit his sister. The two eventually begin to get along after Yu tells Kimazuki that whether he failed the tests or was a member of the Moon Demon Squad didn't matter as long as he kept trying to find a solution to save his sister. Yu tries to kick Gurren as he leaves a meeting room and insists on getting his cursed gear. Gurren easily overcomes him after catching his foot, but only after deciding to finally give Yu his cursed gear and send him into the field, partially to avoid drawing the attention of the Haragi family. Yu is kicked in the head, and the man declares that idiots are exhausting as he leaves. Sayuri hands back the test papers to the students in the classroom and informs them that their test results will determine what level of cursed gear they will receive. Yu hurries swiftly to conceal his score of 0 after realizing it, but Shinoa spots it and takes it, making fun of him. Gurren enters the classroom and inquires as to why it is constantly so noisy when Yu and Kimazuki engage in another fistfight. When Yu and Kimazuki see him, they each demand a cursed item. Sayuri responds to Gurren's question about whether the kids might be prepared to create a contract even though they haven't finished training by saying Yoichi is surprisingly more stable than the rest. Gurren draws his sword, piercing the classroom floor and filling it with a demonic glow. Sayuri must employ warding spells to survive as the majority of the kids pass out. Yoichi and Shinoa handle it without issue, but Kimazuki and Yu have more difficulties. Sayuri expresses her skepticism about Yoichi having a strong heart to handle the demon, and Yu tells Yoichi to stop. But Yoichi remembers how he stood still while watching his sister die by the hands of a vampire, and decides to do the test. The three boys approach the weapons of their choice once Gurren has finished explaining the contract ceremony. Yu pulls out a green blade. After touching the weapons, they fall into a trance, and the demons must test them. The demons test them with illusions of the kid's past. Yoichi sees how his sister died while he was hiding under the bed. In Shiho's test, he is taken to his pre-adolescent age, and sees the demon taking the shape of his sleeping sister, trying to convince Shiho of wanting his sister to die. However, Shiho disagrees and fights back, proving that he'll pass this demon's test. In Yu's test, he wanders through a world made up of clouds until he hears Mika call his name. He turns to see Mika in the orphanage they briefly resided in when they were both 8 years old, holding a teddy bear. Yu orders the demon to cease acting like his family, and the demon appears as a mass of darkness without shape. He acknowledges Yu's last battle with a demon of lower rank, but wonders why Yu craves for so much power. Yu responds that he is seeking retribution because he lost his family to vampires. He wants to exterminate all bloodsuckers from this world. The demon replies that he can grant him limitless ability to get his revenge. However, Yu has a huge conflict between love and lust, and the demon remarks that this is why people endanger the earth. The demon agrees to follow Yu, as long as his heart remains strong. If for some reason, Yu starts to show signs of weakness, then the demon will do everything to take control over his body. The demon explains that his name is Asuramaru, and we also tells him that 10% of Yu isn't human. Kimazuki and Yu have passed and have successfully made contracts with their cursed weapons. However, Yoichi is still in a trance. Then Yoichi is overpowered by the demon and ends up possessing him. The demon declares that she will take over his body and obtain Yoichi's vengeance for him. The demon claims Yoichi is not worthy of being her master and that he lacks the will to defend himself as she pierces his chest. Yoichi stares into his sister's face as he spirals out of control. The enormous head that looks down at Yoichi in the ceremonial room is split wide open by a big fissure. Guren remarks that Yoichi did not survive as his body leaps on top of one of the heads. He claims that passing the test 2 out of 3 times is not bad. Yoichi has slit pupils, sharp fingernails, pointed teeth, 2 tiny horns, and marks under his eyes. He appears with a big green bow and grouses about how annoying humans are. Yoichi has transformed into a man-eating demon, and Guren commands you and Kimazuki to kill it. As the humans are being attacked by the man-eating demon, Yoichi and Kimazuki draw their weapons. Guren asserts that Yoichi won't return, despite Yu's disagreement with the directives. Yoichi's bow is knocked from his hands by Yu, but Guren warns him that Yoichi himself is the source of the monster, not the bow. Yu sets his blade aside and tries to convince Yoichi out of breaking free from the demon's shackles despite the fact that his efforts to do so have been ineffective. Both Kimazuki and Shinoa intervene out of alarm. Guren then questions Yoichi's future plans, including whether or not he will return to hiding under the bed or emerge to defend his allies. Yoichi reenacts the incident when his sister tells him to remain beneath the bed, but he protests and claims he no longer wants to do so. He yearns for the ability to annihilate all of his foes and shield his friends. As he craves power, 12-year-old Yoichi transforms into a 16-year-old Yoichi. The demon loses control, and the arrow does not strike Yu. Yoichi throws the bow aside while sobbing as he rushes to embrace Yu. Yu is suddenly knocked out as Guren kicks him in the belly. Guren tells him that he took too long to return. Yoichi fusses over Yu as he wonders why Yu got kicked instead of himself. Yoichi has potential, but remorse has been robbing him of his will to live, according to Guren. Yoichi is told not to worry about getting even and to focus on protecting his buddies for now. Yu is roused from his sleep by Guren, who tells him to forget about his previous family because they cannot help him. According to Guren, this is now Yu's new family. Guren says he will send the 3 youngsters out to the front line because they were able to get their cursed gears and function somewhat as a team. This is all for this anime. Give the video a like, and I will see you in the next minutes.